a religious belief that his text is a compendium or repository of the most sound, scientifically verified collection of hadith. He himself said that in his process, he came across thousands of hadith that he was able to authenticate, but he didn't put them in his sahih, in his collection. Why didn't you put them in your collection, Bukhari? That selection process of Bukhari that produced the text that we have was a selection process informed by his particular theology and his ethnic background. So the Muslim world hails Bukhari, a Persian, but they don't hail Ahmad ibn Hanbal's Musnad. Ahmad ibn Hanbal was a black Arab that preceded Bukhari, and he produced a collection that was the standard in his day. And his collection, produced by this black Arab, produces an Islam that is radically different from the Islam of the current world that's anchored in Sahih Bukhari. It's no mystery why the Iranized Muslim world privileges the Persian Bukhari over the black Arab Ahmad ibn Hanbal, or even Bukhari's black student Tirmidhi, who likewise was a black Arab. And there are reports in the black Arab Ahmad ibn Hanbal's collection. It's not in the Persian's Bukhari's collection. And if they were in there, the Muslim world will be forced to reconfigure its theology, its law, and its politics. Now, that's that one. However, the particular case that you referenced actually is not Bukhari's fault here. It's Muhammad Zan's fault. Muhammad Zan is the one who translated this edition of Bukhari into English. And the particular hadith that you referenced in Bukhari actually discussed it in here. Muhammad Zan translates an Arabic term abyad as white and rose. There is no such word in the Arabic, rose. The term that he translates white and rosy is the term abyad. Now this is where it gets. You have to indulge me. Got to get into linguistics, because the greatest source, one of the greatest sources of confusion in this regard, is not just the willful manipulation of facts or misrepresentation of facts. It's our inclination to impose 21st century American ideas on 9th century Arabic text. And this is a classic point. What Muhammad Zan, the term Muhammad Zan translated or mistranslated as white and rosy, that rosy was profoundly mischievous. The white was mischievous, but not as profound, because the term abyad actually does mean white. Arabic does color scheme, classical Arabic, not modern Fusha. Classical Arabic does color schemes radically different than how we use color schemes. They distinguish colors as applied to inanimate objects versus colors applied to humans. there is a linguistic phenomenon called thought, opposite, where an Arabic term, when applied to an inanimate object, has one meaning, but when that same term is applied to a human, it has the lexical opposite as its meaning. Now, we're familiar with that concept, right? When Michael said, "I'm bad," did he mean he was bad? He meant the lexical opposite. See, we do that in the Bible. Well, that was a standard literary phenomenon in classical Arabic, the science of thought. A word, and it had rules. Abiyad is the textbook example of this phenomenon of thought. When abiyad is applied to inanimate objects, it means white. So you want to describe milk, you use abiyad. You want to describe teeth, you use abiyad. But when you describe human complexion, you never use abiyad to mean white. If you want to describe human complexion as white, you use the term red, ahmar. Abiyad as applied to human complexion means black. Black with a luminous glow. So Bukhari here was right, but what Bukhari presented wasn't error, but he was guilty by omission. Bukhari in this instance was guilty by omission because he cites the reports described in Muhammad as abiyad, and I'm going to say something further about that description. Abiyad, which in and of itself means black, blemish-free. See, that's how in that initial hadith or akhbar about Shem, Ham, and Japheth, it distinguished the Semites from the Hamites by the fact that they both had black skin, but the Hamites' black complexion was black and blemish-free and luminous. The term used there is abiyad. But the Africans, they have black skin too, but it's not blemish-free. That's why. The difference between abiyad and that's why there's black. That's why there's the regular term for black. This is black. When you say abiyad, that means specifically black with a blemish-free complexion and glow. That's the black is beautiful, it was privileged. So the text actually describes the prophet as abiyad, which literally means, well, idiomatically, as it relates to human complexion, means a black complexion with a glow and blemish-free. So Bukhari can't be faulted there, except there were some very critical descriptions of the prophet that he did not include, that are included, for example, in Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the black Arab, and Bukhari's student, Timothy, a black Arab. Those who, there's no ambiguity with them. They describe the prophet as Asma, a dark brown skin, which clarifies the abiyad. Bukhari didn't put those in there. He just put abiyad. Because there will come a time where in history there was enough ambiguity was imposed on that term where mischief could be made. But even Bukhari wasn't to the point, as it will be later, where he altered the term abiyad to make it mean white skin. And this is how it was altered. Classical Arabic recognizes two whitenesses. Again, as it relates to human complexion. Again, abiyad, the standard term for white, when it's applied to human complexion, means black. But a time will come when these descriptions of Muhammad as Abyad, the Persianized and Aryanized Muslims wanted to make it white, wanted to make it mean white skin, but in order to do so, they had to add something to the term Abyad in order to make it not mean black. So, two types of whitenesses. White, as it relates to human complexion, was entered into the lexicon. Whiteness was called al-Bayad, al-Mushrik, Bisuk. Bayad is the same word Abyad. It's whiteness related to black-skinned luminance. That's the original meaning of Abyad straight. It Mushrik be Supra. Supra is another term in Arabic. It means both yellow and black. It means black with the glow. So here Abyad is specified because it's specified now because these Persians who became the teachers of the Arabic language and wrote the grammar, they are now making Abyad mean white skin. So Arabic grammar had to specify. So they developed the term Abyad or Bayad, Mushrik Bisukra, Abyad, whiteness related to black skin luminance. That's the original Abyad, and this was distinguished from Al-Bayad, al-Mushrik, Bihum. Whiteness related to white-skinnedness. It is said that Abyad Bisukra, Abyad related to black-skinned luminance, is caused by the sun smacking the black complexion and giving off an iridescence. It is said that whiteness, and it's also said that it's a blackness that has an undertone of yellow, as this black Arab has here. This Abyad Mushrik be Humra, Abyad related to white-skinnedness, that said it's caused by the blood in the veins visible under the white skin. Whiteness related to white-skinnedness is distinct from whiteness related to black skin luminance. The original significance of that term, which Muhammad Zahn translated as white and rosy, the original significance was whiteness related to black skin luminance. But when Islam was Persianized, when it was Aryanized, and they transformed him into a white-skinned man. They made him Abyad Mushrik Bihum, white skin related to white-skinnedness. And that's how Muhammad Zahn translated that text, but that's not what the text says. In fact, nowhere in Bukhari, to Bukhari's credit, I am not a Bukhariist. Bukhari has value, but Bukhari did as much harm as good. That's just real talk, I'm sorry. From a historical critical perspective, there is in Bukhari some of what has no business being. Bukhari is not the definer. His collection absolutely does not define the sunnah of the prophet. And to be part of the Muslim world's problem is it being Bukhari-centric. Part of the Muslim world's problem is we hung up on Bukhari. That has misled. Allow me to cite an example, a practical example. Because in this regard, Bukhari isn't at fault. Bukhari, no, to his credit. And Bukhari wrote in the 10th century. To his credit, nowhere does Bukhari call Muhammad white skin. Ahmad. Nowhere in Bukhari. Nowhere in Sahih